Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is your boy, CIZZY, you dig, live action from Kansas City, Missouri. And we back again with another podcast, another podcast, another one. It's 2021 now, but at the beginning of 2020, I told y'all I'm about to come with the fire. I'm about to come with hella episodes. I'm about to go in. And I didn't stop. I went and I didn't stop. Guest after guest after guest. And here we are on January 13th, 2021, 5:07 p.m. Central Time with another guest. And he's fire. Go ahead and introduce yourself, my guy.
Hey, what it is, what it do, how it's been, how it's done. It's your boy, Bump Jonas. I go by many names, but we're just going to stick with Bump Jonas. Man, I'm the consultant manager of WAP Gang, area, regional, national, international, global motivator, promotional king. Whatever you need, I'm here to get it. I'm here to make shit wiggle. I'm the widget. I'm the man. Whatever you need. What's good? What's up?
I love it. And that's where we're going to start, man. You are a man of many hustles. A man of many hustles. And I kind of want to know, where that started from, where you learned that from. Is that just something you picked up along the way growing up, or pops or uncle or brother? Like, who in your life was out here just taking up every job and just trying to hustle and help everyone? Like, where'd you get that energy from?
Everybody, man. My whole family, man. Like, we kind of split time between Cali and Houston, and everybody I know from my mom, Dukes, she was, one of the first women worked at MCI, moved away from working on the phones to taking trips to Jamaica from being top sales, So it was always about hustle. My pops was damn near Jamaican. He wasn't, but he had many jobs, you know what I'm saying? So it's just what it was. He worked the airlines. He worked with the police. He worked, not with them, but you know what I'm talking about, all that shit. I mean, my pops was a hustler. He grew me up, raised me up around pimps, like for real. So, I mean, that's just what it was. I grew up in Third Ward, Texas. So coming up there, it was always about the hustle. You couldn't sit down. You know what I mean? We had squeegee boys before squeegees. You feel me? That's just what it was. So, I just see early, man. Next door neighbor was the D-boy, so I learned hustle from there. Everything was hustle around me. That's just what we did. Hustle culture. You had to get the stuff to be stunting. Only way to get it was to go out and get it. So you had to go do it. And, I started selling lollipops at school early, selling candies. My dad, it always worked out that my people was connected to some type of hustle. Well, mostly legal. I'm not going to really speak on illegal. It's unnecessary. Excuse me. But, my people was always connected to something, making moves. And that's just what I grew up around. So, early in life, I probably was like 9 or 10 years old in parking lots of concerts and clubs, passing out flyers and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Selling Smarties and sour candies in 3rd, 4th grade, 5th grade, you know what I'm saying? That's what I always did,
I love it. And I wanna double back. You mentioned you grew up in Texas. So one more time, drop where you're from, and just talk to me a little bit about that experience growing up. What was school like? Were you a fan of school? Were you playing sports when you were a kid? What were some of your early hobbies? What's it like living in that part of Texas? Go ahead and drop some game on life in Texas for all the Kansas Cityans and LA people that listen to this and know not anything about Texas.
Word. All right, so bet. So right off the bat, I'm from the Trey by way of the Bay. That's how I put it. So I'm from Third Ward, Texas. That's where I was raised, you know what I'm saying? But I was born in the back of a cab in California, in Alameda, California. So I'm from the Bay, you know what I'm saying? Spent time there and Texas. But my main growing up, my main learning, my main education in life came from Third Ward, Texas, Dennis and Scott Street. So I went to school right there, Frederick Douglass Elementary. I think it's got a new name now. It's some kind of charter school shit, but I ain't gonna get into that. But, you know what I mean? That's where I ran my stomping ground from. Scott Street, the Yellowstone, CUNY Homes, all of that. I started off in the public school system, so I got that aspect of life. I had cousins and people around me. I came from a pretty large family, more or less. Mom, dad, little sister, grandma, all of that. But we started off living with my grandma, so I knew about, pissing in pots in the middle of the night. I knew about shotgun houses because I literally lived in one. You know what I'm saying? My first scene of a gun popping off was a 44 getting shot at a wood rat. I was more scared of the rat than the gun because that shit was bigger than the gun. You know what I'm saying? From school, I moved out of elementary. My mom actually, you know, see, my mom was a pimp, man. She was a hustler, so she got me out of the public school system. And somewhere around 6th grade, she moved me into the private school system. So I went to this school called Audi International. And basically, it was a French school. Ended up becoming an international school. I was on the American side, so you know, I was with all the English speakers, right? But we worked and played and studied side by side with the French side. So it just, that was a way of life. I mean, and shit, even then, it was still a hustle because I got in as one of the only black kids, but it wasn't, I mean, you know, I'm sure there was some quota to that shit, but at the same time, excuse my French, I still had to have, I was on a half academic and half sports scholarship. So I had to play soccer. I had to play run track. I had to make sure I was on my shit. I had to play for basketball. I had to keep a B+ grade all the time, anytime, every time. So, you know, there was still hustle in everything I did there. Even then, I was still going to school, still grinding. One of my first jobs was working at one of them apartment, like not apartment, but department store type of joints at the mall, stocking clothes. So, you know, then I would snatch a couple shirts in there, sell some Z Cavalry to the kids at school. You know, it was always a hustle somewhere to be made because you got to make money, you know. And by the time I was 15 or so, I was helping with the bills. That's just what it was. You know what I mean? Just life was what it was. Somewhere around 17 or so, my parents dipped, and it was just me and my sister. And actually, my older sister, who was pretty much my mom, and then we had a younger sister that was like 8. So me and her kind of teamed up to take care of that business. And I still finished school a little bit late, you know what I mean? Because in the middle of all that, I was being a dummy, trying to be a D-boy, trying to do crazy shit, and ended up having a kid of my own. So somewhere around, a lot of things happened around that time. My brother passed away, my parents dipped, I'm having a kid. So I ended up leaving school mainly because they was like, yo, you got a kid. And I'm in a private school, mind you, where there's like, I mean, international, like oil executive type motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're talking about, actually, yeah.
So it's a lot of, that was for me, that was my first lesson in politics and optics, because they told me in very uncertain but slick ways, like, yo, your black ass just had a kid with someone over here. That's not a good look. So there's like, we'd appreciate you not coming back. They took away my scholarship. I mean, my dumb ass thought I could find a way to hustle the money. So I was hitting the docks. I was driving from, you know, Houston to Galveston, Texas, trying to get my ass up on these loading docks to try and get money either to go to school or to get some money for my kid coming. So it's just what it was. I ended up booking out of Houston just because it wasn't shit to do. Moved my ass to Cali, my sister, my big sis, love you, Sonya. Me and her and my stepdad, who really ended up giving me a good lesson in how to hustle some more. I ended up finishing school out there, was selling lollipops in school, pissing niggas off because I'm just hustling. I don't give a shit, you know. I ain't got no fear of nothing. You know, you mentioned me giving love. That's part of my lack of fear. I'm not afraid to show love to nothing. I'm not afraid of nothing. Fuck it. What's the point, right? So yeah, I just did that, made my way through it, started doing some things from there. I tried to go to college for a little bit, did some recording arts because I was like, music had always been my thing. But it just, you know, life choices kind of take you from here to there, from A to Z. You trying to zig and they want you to zag. And now I'm in the Midwest trying to do my thing and make it happen.
I love it. I love it. I want to double back a little bit. First off, I'm glad we're having this conversation because one of the best things about like the podcast overall is you can be a fan of a person via social, right? You can be a fan of whether it's the energy they put out, the content they put out, what they do for work, maybe their messages, whatever it might be. You might be a fan of somebody, but it's different to really get in touch with their story and really hear the life experiences that they had because you know, it kind of reminds me of this word that I've mentioned a few times on the podcast, and it's called sonder. And it's the realization that every passerby is going through a life that is as vivid and as complex as your own, with the same, like, with similar challenges, ups, downs. and that word always like kind of was fascinating to me because first off, it's not a real word. It's like a made up word, but that's like the description of it. And I found that word when I was like 13 or something like that. It's always been fascinating because it's like, yo, everybody you pass by and like you just walking through the plaza, you know, some guy walks past you. You might never see that person ever again, but that person had a whole life, a whole lot of experiences, a whole lot of game, a whole lot of pain, a whole lot of happiness, a whole lot of sadness. Like people have gone through so much. And just in that, you know, short explanation of your early life, man, like you can already see the pain, the struggles, but also the happiness, the learning opportunities. You know, the massive change in life when a child enters your life, man. Like, so I'm glad we're having this conversation, but I do want to talk about that. So when you have your kid, what's going through your mind? Like, what's the first thing that goes through your mind when you see your baby is born? You looking at it, you like you just look. What's going through your mind right there? What were you, 17, 18?
I was 18.
18. What's going through your mind? Like, what are your plans now? Like, as soon as you saw your baby, you're like, oh snap. What's going through your head?
For real, like I see him and it's like, all right, well, shit, I got to do it. There's no more selfish thought. There's no more, like, really, it was just like, all right, well, fuck it, it's me and him. Because that was the circumstances anyway, to where it was me and him. So that was that. It was already crystallized at that moment, and so it was like, okay, so this is what it's going to be. So it just changed my thought process or my thought pattern to be more like, I fuck what I want. What do we need? So that was probably my first step towards being aware of the community aspect of life. If I'm gonna be all like super hippie and high level about this shit, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, my first time was like, all right, bet it's us, so we gotta go.
And from there, were your plans to go like work with people in music? Were your plans to go work in trucking, go to the military? Like, did you have any specific plans in that moment?
You know, my plan at that point had always been to, at that point in time, it wasn't music at all. I grew up in music culture. Houston culture is just about freestyling in the car, smoking blunts, you know, get you a 3 for 10, smoke, listen to some Screw and just, you know, freestyle. So it was something that I always was good at. I loved hip hop. I've been bit by the hip hop bug early. So it was always going to be part of my life. But at that point in time, I really thought, I thought I was going to be like a journalist or some shit. You know what I mean? Like I really wanted to, I had a lot of different things that I was in the middle of at that point, which that kind of plays into now. But like I really wanted to, I was really, really in the mix with soccer and sports and have been talking to or trying to interview with a couple different colleges. So that was a major factor at that time. Music was kind of something I dipped and been to a couple studios in like Tennessee and a few other places to kind of dabble my foot in that life. And then I also was just interested in writing and being a journalist. So it was I was at definitely a road fork.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's what shapes us though, right? You know, when we get that fork in the road and we like, damn, well, we got to make a choice. Like there's no there's no other option but to make a choice. And whatever direction we go, we got to learn and take the punches and go over those speed bumps and get that flat tire. And we got to go through all that, whatever direction we went, and we can't turn back. You know what I'm saying? So I think those are like the monumental moments of growth that everyone goes through at some point in their life where they're like, all right, I ain't got no other option. I got to make a choice and I got to go for it. And you just go and you start trying shit. So I feel that. So you say you went to California, you finished high school. When did you end up transitioning to Missouri or at least to the Midwest?
So somewhere around, shit, man, I've been here about 15 years now. So I'm gonna say probably about 2006, 2008, somewhere around that time. It's kind of hazy, but you know, I just bad decisions, or how DMX put it, fast decisions lead to rash decisions, something like that. You know what I'm saying? Brother fucked around and got married on some dumb shit and realized that was some dumb shit and had to, you know, relocate, switch up. You know, sometimes the block gets a little wild and the hustle got to take his little honeypot and move to another couple streets down, figure shit out. So that's just what it was. I was on some reset and it's like, yo, this is what it is. So me and my son was already here. We touched down. My mom's was here. So once I touch down in the spot, man, I just make myself part of the community. You know, that's just what it is. So that's what it became, just me being out and about, just getting involved, getting in the groove. And even then, I had kind of left music alone. Like, I never left it alone, but as far as like really having a focus and wanting to do music, that was gone, because the focus was now on just rebuilding and resetting my life for myself and my son. Like, I had spent several years in Cali really focused on the music aspect, which now is a blessing, because those were my ground years, my training years for a lot of the things that I applied to WAP Gang and to all of my other endeavors and businesses.
I love it. I love it. And what are some things that you've seen change in Kansas City over the years? It can be in music, it can just be about the energy of the city. Like, what are some things that you've seen change for the good or the bad, either way? But
I think the number one thing that I've seen change in the time that I've been here is that the city, and when I say the city, I'm talking about the people. And when I say the people, I'm talking about the Black people, the people of color, the indigenous people to any land, pretty much. The way that they've embraced the spaces and the sentiment and the heritage of the city. When I first got here, the first thing I noticed is there was a lot of just boarded up, broken down, run down places. And my first thought was like, this is a waste. This is wasteful, and I hated it. And my mom and I used to go round and round about it, rest her soul. And she's like, "Nah, you got to see the beauty in it. You got to see the beauty in it." So it took me a minute, and I did though. And what I saw actually was an opportunity to get ahead of the gentrification, to show love to where you are and to where you're from, and to see, okay, this is some bullshit concrete, but you know what? If you take a little time, you clean it up, you dust it up, you put some effort into this, you could turn this into a back porch or a front porch or a patio. You know what I mean? So that's what I've seen, is more people taking a real interest in not just the city and the spaces, but in the Blackness and in the culture and the heritage of themselves and in the city.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I have a similar perspective, but different, because I was obviously a different age back then. but I've definitely seen that over the past, two, 3, 4, 5 years, just being a little bit older and being able to, actually use my brain. I've definitely seen the similar things. So I love to hear that. I love that.
Well, now you
So
came up from here though, so it's a little different. Like, I'm a transplant, so a lot of times you want to get away from where you're from. So I could absolutely, I'm gonna give you a pass.
Hey, no, that's real though. That's real. Definitely a huge part of my story, trying to get out of Kansas City and in a rush to leave here so much. Grateful for the past year that, made me calm down and really develop a love and a passion for the people in my city. And like you said, when I say people, like really, people who look like me, people who experience the same things I've experienced, people who have been put in certain situations we don't want to be put in, but we still found our way, through to thrive. So definitely love Kansas City as of 2019, 2020. But so I wanna speaking of 2020, I want to kind of talk about that. It was a crazy year. And I told myself I wasn't going to be cliche and talk about 2020 on my podcast in 2021, but here I am. I'm going to do it anyways, because I think it was such a crazy time for all of us to mentally, go through, and for some physically who've gotten sick, or maybe, let go of their health while they were stuck at home with no job, whatever it might have been. But definitely mentally for everyone, a challenge, a obstacle in the road. So talk to me a little bit about 2020 and how the pandemic interrupted your plans, and maybe how you pivoted, and maybe just some happy and some difficult moments of 2020 for you.
Man, so this is probably where I'm gonna sound cliche, but for real, 2020 ain't do shit for me. It's bad. I'm gonna get that out the way. Let's just get the bad out the way. The only thing bad about 2020 for me was I realized how much motherfuckers ain't wash their hands. You know what I'm saying? So, other than that, 2020 was good for me, man. It was a green light. It was thumbs up. That shit was beautiful. Right off the bat, WAP Gang hit the scene. We realized how much stupidity is in this world. and it just, became front and center for everything. Shit, I got to sit at home a little bit more, spend some more time with my people, my family, get to know myself, get to know my family, get to, try my hand at new habits, get rid of old habits. I mean, it was nothing bad that happened for me in 2020 other than I got to kick myself in the ass a little bit more and step it up in 21 because I felt like I had such a good year. So that's just what it is.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I think I was kind of feeling similar. Like 2020, was of course, interesting and kind of wild. But I think that in regards to how other people took it versus how I took it, and I'm not saying this in an arrogant way or anything like that, but I definitely feel similar to you where I just thought it was like a growth opportunity. It was just like, damn, yeah, there's a lot of wild shit going on, but what am I going to do with this free time? What am I going to do with this stimulus check? What am I going to do with Zoom? What am I going to do with this time I have away from a job or whatever it was when I lost a job? Okay, how am I going to be more mindful about my money while I don't have money? You know what I'm saying? It's like there was really just kind of sucked to maybe not hang out with people, but really what it helped me realize is bro, I don't need to be hanging out with some of these people. so I was like, yeah, this is really a growth opportunity for me. So I feel you, man. It was really a blessing. I mean, I'm not gonna act like people didn't die. Of course, condolences to people who struggled and who lost somebody, and prayers out to them. And I feel for them. But it was really a year of growth for me as well. So I definitely feel you on that. So to the topic of the day. Can you talk to me about what, you've mentioned it multiple times, but some people on here may not know. So who is involved in, where did it begin? What is WAP Gang?
Man. So first off, before I answer any question about WAP Gang, I have to give the disclaimer. We simply don't give a fuck. Warmest regards. But WAP Gang in general, if I'm gonna run down the list, we got Shiv, we got Damo, we got Zoya Maverick, we got Jiggy, we got Savvy, we got Raya, and we got Sonny Bruce Fasado, and we got DJ Shabazz. That's, the active core pieces to WAP Gang. And, you got your affiliates, people that we rock with, very heavily. We at the end of the day, we fuck with everybody. We don't give a fuck, so we fuck with everybody. That's just what it is. It's all love to give, love to be taken. That's all it is. Show love, give love. You got cats like 13 Terrell, Swanson that are active collaborators with us. So definitely strong affiliates. So that in a nutshell is WAP Gang.
I love it. I love it. And when you guys went about creating the name for this collective, first off, do you call it a collective, a band, or just like a group of people? What do you call it?
We are a wild and peaceful collective.
Perfect. And wild and peaceful for you personally, I'm sure it might mean something different for each one of the members of the collective, but for you personally, what does wild and peaceful mean to you?
Whew. I mean, you know what? I could probably describe it in a bunch of different ways. I'm actually still some imagery from Damo. He always just has this way of describing it of this monk meditating in the middle of a wild ass party that's going off in a forest type of thing. You know what I mean? So you just different layers, the elements, as above, so below, the negative, the positive, the yin and the yang, the wild and the peaceful. It's just, whatever the hell you could think is going on, it's going on, but in the most peaceful and loving manner possible.
I love that. And that really means a lot. I mean, I think if people really dwell on what you just said and don't let that go over their head, as Casanova would say, free cash, by the way. But as he would say, is don't let that go over your heads, because we're all and it goes back to that word Sonder as well. It's we're all living lives that are just actually crazy. We kind of move through our life because we get used to it. But if we think about the things that are going on in the world, the things that we face, the challenges and decisions we have to make each and every day, the type of personalities we deal with within ourselves and within the outer world, the type of thoughts that go through our head, the type of things that are going on inside of our bodies due to the food that we eat, the type of crazy evil things that are happening, but the crazy positive things that are happening. There's so much going on that this world is dead, wild and peaceful, at the same time. And you got to find peace within the wildness, and you got to find wildness within the peace. because being 100% one is never going to be the right way to go. So it's like you really gotta. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I wish I spark a blunt right now.
Hey, feel free. But yeah, man, I like that. I like that. I love that, man. So how would you describe some of the artists in the collective, man? How would you describe? I want you, like, to, some of the listeners who listen consistently have heard Civ on the podcast. Great episode, great individual.
Yeah.
And really, if you think about all of the members that I've interacted with, they really are mad peaceful, but like also they are who they are. They grew up in the environments they grew up in. So like I just said, you got to go through a lot of shit. You got to go through a lot of shit, but like all of them are peaceful and thoughtful in nature, and I really love that about y'all squad. So but yeah, man, like drop a little bit of your favorite things. It can be characteristics, or it can be their style of music, or whatever you want to drop about some of the members of the collective.
So I would say right off the bat, my favorite thing about all of them is that amongst the peaceful nature that you get, because we're in your face when we need to be, when we want you to hear what we got to say. And that's what all of 2020 was. But at the most part, we're just chill and we turn up when we need to, you know what I mean? But I think the number one thing aside from all that is every single one of them have a passion, and a strong passion about what it is they want to do. And more than that, it's not about just what they want to do. It's about how they want to apply the doing to the world around them, to the environment. And that to me is important, right? Especially for a cat like me, because I appreciate and I'm big on my environment. So if I look at what each one of, hell, I got to look at it from like a Wu-Tang angle, because that's how my perspective is broke down. I'm a 90s kid in that sense. So, if I start with Zoya, right, she's going to sing and she could rap. And